In 2017, a 67-year-old woman went in for routine cataract surgery. Cataracts are a medical condition in which the lens of the eye becomes clouded, making it difficult to see clearly. As one of the specialists was preparing the woman's eye for surgery, he noticed a light blue clump of something under her right eyelid. The specialist was shocked to discover that the foreign object was a ball of 17 contact lenses that had clumped together in her eye over an extended period of time. And that's not all. He found 10 more contact lenses in various portions of that same eye. That's 27 contact lenses. This poor woman was blind to the fact that she had 27 contact lenses stuck in her right eye. I can't even handle a little eyelash in my eye, let alone thinking about that. Her vision was so bad that she wasn't aware of something that was right in front of her eyes, like literally touching her eyeball. Loved ones, I think that we as believers sometimes experience blindness to things God has intentionally placed in our line of vision as well. I think that we sometimes suffer from blindness to people in need who are right in front of our eyes, people upon whom God has fixed His loving and compassionate gaze. Jesus came and demonstrated radical love for those who were most overlooked, the outcast, the untouchable of society. And the Gospel of Luke is just filled with example after example of Jesus eating with, identifying with, rubbing shoulders with, slowing down for those who others walked right by and even avoided. I think we all need Jesus to create within us a bigger vision for the invisible. We need Jesus to help us learn how to better see and serve the unseen right in front of our eyes. I'm so excited for our show today, and I'm so glad you've joined us because we're going to learn together how to gain clearer sight for the unseen in our lives and our community. You're watching One Day Closer, where we're learning together how to use our one day closer to eternity to bring hope and purpose to many. Let's go meet our guest for today. Today we're here with Joe Velarde, the lead pastor at Riverbend Community Church, and we're going to be talking about how to gain sight for the unseen in our lives. Joe, it's been so awesome getting to connect with you in various ways that God's provided, and I'm excited for our show today, and I'm excited for your heart, for the least, the lost, the lonely, and the overlooked. And Joe, can we start, just share a little bit about yourself, your family?
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here to share with you. I love the heartbeat of this show and just living in light of eternity. I love that focus and to be able to see with such clarity. So my wife and I just celebrated 20 years of marriage.
All right.
In January. So we are still going strong. She's still putting up with me, I like to say. We've got a 7-year-old son named Ray. And so back in 2009, we started weekly services to the church that we lead today called Riverbend Community Church right here in Allentown. And God has just been so kind to us over the years and just so grateful for the ways He's been at work.
That's great. And you're the lead pastor then at Riverbend Community Church. Tell me more about just the heart of Riverbend and your love and your focus on the least, the lost, the lonely.
So when you think about this area that we're a part of, I think it's really important to first of all understand just the dynamic of the people all around us, that there are people who are made in God's image, who are searching for something to bring real meaning, purpose, and peace. And so over the years, as I started to just see that and experience and encounter people, I realized people were open to Jesus, but sometimes the church, for whatever reason, bad experiences, things that were going on in their own lives and their own journeys made it difficult for them to see that as a connection. So when we started Riverbend, our heart was really about mainly two things, which is living for Jesus in the ordinary and the extraordinary moments of life, and loving the valley as Jesus has loved us and served us and to share with others what Jesus has come to do. So our heart is to create experiences, opportunities to be a people, not just a Sunday morning service, that really lives with that missional focus and impulse of saying, how can we live for Jesus wherever we find ourselves, and how can we love the valley, the people that God has put into our circles of influence well?
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's simple and powerful, right? It's like loving the people right where God has you and learning how to do that well as you live for Christ. And as we think about that, as we think about living for Jesus, and we think about those who are kind of unseen, and we'll get into this, but just the idea of those with, it's been termed invisible disabilities that people just aren't really aware of, and how the dynamics that they're affecting in their lives. How does a strong view of who Jesus is and what he came to do help us take the time to make this important in our church and in our lives?
Yeah, so oftentimes what can happen, and I think it's just the American mindset often around Christianity, is that for whatever reason we can talk about the things of church or what it means to be a part of Christendom, but for whatever reason Jesus will talk about his saving power, his forgiveness, but not the way he went about living his life, what he prioritized, what he came to do, and how he did it. And so really, I think for us, what we want to do, and why it's really important for all of us, but to really have a big view of Jesus, his ways, like how did he go about doing what he did, and then also joining him on the mission that he was sent to do, and praise God, accomplished, right, through his life, death, burial, and resurrection. But he said that the mission wasn't over, in the sense that we were still called and invited to go and make disciples of Jesus. And disciples really are these learners, these people that are coming into the way of Jesus to apprentice under who he is and what he did to build our lives around him. And so when we understand, again, Christ for the fullness of who he is, full of grace, full of truth, and what he came to do, then that can only help and move us towards a place of being compelled to join him as he was compelled to pursue, again, the least, the lost, and the lonely.
Yeah, and what a powerful thing, right? That we're literally called the body of Christ in the world, right? That he sits in the heavenlies as the head, having conquered Satan, sin, and death. And we are the means he's chosen through his Spirit and his word to continue his mission in the world. And we look through the Gospels, I believe the most common emotion that is attributed to Jesus is compassion, right? And that has to be at the heart of who we are as a people as we represent Christ in the world. That's great. Thank you. We're gonna take a quick break and stay with us. We're gonna come back and hear more about what does it look like to start to see the unseen in our lives, to envelop and embrace and live out the compassion of Jesus.
Watch Lighthouse TV wherever you go. Available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. Search Lighthouse TV online on your streaming device, or go to our website, lighthousetv.org, for more information.
Welcome back to One Day Closer, where we're learning together how to use our one day closer to eternity to bring hope and purpose to many. We're here with Joe Velarde, and we're learning, Joe, about gaining sight for the unseen and how God's been doing that in your life and in the church that he's allowed you to lead. When we were talking, you shared with me a study from a sociologist at Clemson University, and it apparently is the first large-scale study done kind of gauging how those with chronic health conditions, their attendance to church in comparison with those who don't have chronic health conditions, and lumped into chronic health conditions, they kind of labeled some things called invisible disabilities. Tell us about these invisible disabilities.
Yeah, invisible disabilities are the things that you often can't see. They're things like ADHD, autism, Down syndrome. These are disabilities that we often aren't, if you're not trained in those understanding those types of disabilities, it's difficult to pick up on them. And usually what can happen is those with visible disabilities, like if someone was in a wheelchair, for example, it's a little bit more common to really treat them as you would treat most of the other children in the ministry setting. And so what the study came to bear was the fact that oftentimes those who have the invisible disability are 2 times likely not to come back to a church once they've come, partly because of the looks that people give, the misunderstanding, the comments and statements that are made about those children. Statements like, hey, are they really getting anything out of this? You know, can't you get your child under control? Like, what's your kid's problem? The looks, you know, that are often given to those with the invisible disabilities. And my good friend at our church, Lisa Jones, has been so helpful in even just helping me to discover this study, working with us, even as we consider, how do we engage this? How do we take this information and actually do something with it?
Yeah, wow. And that's a powerful thing, right? Because to be misunderstood, I despise being misunderstood, you know, and maybe to be attributed with things that aren't intentional or stuff like that, but for a group of people to feel that way. And I know we've had, when I was a pastor, particularly those with children with autism. It was hard, but they wanted to be there. You know, we had some even where one parent would come in to the worship service and one would stay out in the car, and they'd kind of switch, and we were able to really work with them to say, hey, how can we help you, right? How do we as Christians gain a better understanding to notice what to a lot of us is invisible? So if it's invisible, you can't see it, right? But we have to gain eyes to see that.
Yeah, so I think one of the things is pray for eyes to see. Because I think oftentimes when we don't have a prayer life where we're asking God to show us what isn't seen, we miss opportunities. And sometimes that's an invisible disability, but sometimes that's something that someone's going through. Like that we are, you know, whether it's at a restaurant, we're talking to our waiter or waitress and we're picking up on something, and if we'll ask questions, it allows us to dig deeper to what it is that person's experiencing, going through. Same thing with coworkers, neighbors. And so I think if we would be prayerful and then allow our compassion, in other words, to see somebody as an image bearer of God, and to see, hey, because of that, I look at them with kindness, and kindness, when you allow it to lead you, will then drive towards curiosity. So it will be a lot of questions, but then it will also allow you to then dig in and to learn and do a lot of online learning as far as what did these disabilities mean? How could I, as a follower of Jesus, have eyes to see? How could I have a heart of compassion? How could I have hands to help? What would it look like for me to engage in that way? And I think oftentimes what can happen is we get a little overwhelmed by it.
Yeah.
So we say like, oh, this is so big. Like, I can't do this grand thing. But I think when you follow really and study the way of Jesus, a lot of what he did was simple, but thoughtful and intentional. It was deliberate. It was a look. It was a question. It was, I'm engaging with you. I'm coming towards you. You know, I'm saying these things that need to be said to encourage you, whether it was an encouragement of valuing them or calling them forth because they were in something that wasn't for their benefit and the benefit of others, right? You know, so we see him do that again and again.
Wow, and moving intentionally into the space of another for the purpose of understanding them more deeply, right? And that changes. We have a saying in our house that I do with the boys and they do with me sometimes. It's ask questions before you make assumptions and accusations, right? In counseling, I learned a great question: what don't I know about this, right? And really just asking questions. And it shows value to a person, right? Who you could have a conversation with somebody and not say two things about yourself, and they'll leave thinking it's the best conversation in the world, right? Because they get to talk about you engaging them, they sharing about their heart and their life. So we need to gain eyes to see, but not just that. Then we need to become the hands and feet of Christ, right? And actually reach out as he did into the fallenness of the world. One of the ways Riverbend's doing that is partnering with the Vine Calvary Chapel to host or set up the Night to Shine. So tell us about Night to Shine. Yeah,
so we are so thankful for the opportunity to be a part of what's called Night to Shine, which is with the Tim Tebow Foundation. And Tim Tebow, many of you know who Tim Tebow is, but if you don't, Google him. I won't give you a history lesson right here. But he had a heart for the special needs community. and really creating a night for the kings and queens to be crowned. So there's a crowning ceremony. There's paparazzi. So when they come in, there's a paparazzi, a line of people taking pictures. Hey,
who are the guests that are experiencing this?
Yeah, the guests are those with special needs.
Yeah.
And so it's a community that often is overlooked, and especially not only them, but also their caregivers. And so it's a night to celebrate both, to give an opportunity for them to be seen as they truly are, the kings and queens made in God's image, to celebrate them. There's a lot of dancing, so it's one of my favorite parts. I burn so many calories that night because I get on the dance floor. And so it's our 8th year doing it.
Yeah.
And really what we love to do with this event is to really make it a community event. And so if you'll go to LehighValleyNightToShine.com, you'll see that we have so many community partners, so many people that are in it with us, whether that's businesses or different leaders in the community, so many people volunteering for it. I mean, we had 2 days worth of trainings, Sunday and then Thursday, 2 different groups, but with so many people coming together to make that happen. And really for us, it's just a tangible opportunity to see what Jesus talked about come to fruition when he said, seek first my kingdom and my righteousness, and all these things will be added unto you. It's saying, hey, we want to take this invisible kingdom that is real and bring visibility to it. And this is one of those visible ways to show it and to display it. Because really the benefit for us is the joy that we get from doing this, and we know throughout Scripture it's more blessed to give than to receive. And there's just this blessing that we take from that evening. And I love watching the community come together in a kingdom collaborative way. And I love all the guests and their families and watching the joy on their face. And oh man, I wish I could show you guys in this moment a video of like us on the dance floor, but it's crazy. They're on the dance floor literally almost from when it starts to when it ends. They just have so much fun, and it's a great opportunity also for us to tell them the why. Like, why are we doing this? So we get to share with them why we're doing it, and it's really to show and share who this Jesus is and what he says of you, and that through him we can have forgiveness and a right standing with God, and we can join Jesus for the purposes in which we were created for, because he made us on purpose and for a purpose.
Wow. And so I love how you combine living for Jesus and loving the valley, right? And what a great way to show. I love the year of Jubilee that Israel had, a whole year of partying, right?
Yeah.
And then the banquet feast that we're going to have with Jesus. And wow, what a way to elevate and say and celebrate. Wow, you are valuable in the eyes of God, and God loves you. And man, I talked to a mutual friend of ours who, his son, he said they could do the red carpet. He did it 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
He just kept going back because the
awesome.
paparazzi people are cheering, and they just get to feel loved and valued. And the community sees that, right? So you're partnering with the community, and they're getting to see Christ in action. That's exciting. We just have a couple minutes left, but share a little bit about like what happens in these families and in us as believers as they experience this.
Yeah, so I think a couple of things, and I'll start with even just with the fact that when you're interacting with people who aren't followers of Christ, first, I think it sparks curiosity. Wait a minute, I'm not used to the church being like this or being about this, and I think what it does is I think it provides a door and opportunity to connect with them in that way. But then those guests and then the church as a whole, I would say for the guest, their response and the thing that I come away with in their own life is just feeling so valued. The power of presence, of saying, hey, your presence matters, so much so that we're creating a presence here for you. We're coming near you. As Jesus came near to you, and the joy on their faces, the way we have a karaoke part as well, and so they're out there singing their hearts out.
I love it.
There's shoe shine, there's makeup, there's hair. Just this
limo rides,
limo rides as well. I'm always trying to remember everything that we do. Limo rides, and they just love the opportunity to have a night where they're not only celebrated, but also where they get the chance to experience sometimes what often they don't get to experience because of their disability and the way in which at times our culture can be devaluing at times or objectifying of people who maybe not fit the grid of what we consider normal, but the other part of that even is just recognizing every one of us has a genius within us. There's something that we offer and give. And then I would say for the follower of Christ, I would say just the sure reminder that we are part of something bigger than ourselves and that we get this great privilege and honor to do what Jesus said. Hey, throw a banquet, throw a party. Throw a party for people that can't repay you.
Yeah.
And doing so is really a kingdom business when you do it. And so when they start to do it and start to experience it, you see them come alive in different ways. You see them lead in different ways. You see them do things that maybe they're a little nervous about because every guest has a buddy. So they have a buddy through the night and that guides them and dances with them and has fun with them. But in that even, just watching them be emboldened with that and taking on these different roles.
Because they're being seen. And not only that, but we don't have to think about the caretakers and seeing them and them being so like, wow, your kids are valuable and what you're doing is hard and important and we see you and we want to be a part of that. Well, Joe, this has been so great. I mean, I'm so encouraged and I know that our viewers are going to be encouraged as well. Thank you so much. Stick with us. We're gonna come back and talk about how can we as Christians apply this more deeply to our lives.
Watch Lighthouse TV wherever you go. Available on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. Search Lighthouse TV online on your streaming device or go to our website lighthousetv.org for more information.
Not too long after I gave my life to Jesus, God provided an amazing opportunity to gain better vision for the invisible. I was at a coffee shop reading and I noticed a homeless man who came in and sat at one of the tables nearby. I felt like God was prompting me to go over and talk with him, so I headed over and started a conversation. He was really friendly and he seemed to appreciate our time together. And while I was speaking with him, he began eating lunch from a can. And I noticed the odor coming from it was very strong and not very pleasurable thing. As I looked closer, I noticed that the man was eating a can of dog food. After our conversation ended, I went and bought some more enjoyable food for him to eat from the store and brought it over to him. And he said something I'll never forget. He said, "Thank you, but you can pass that along to someone who really needs it. Just keep doing this." And what he meant was, keep taking the time to notice people like me. His desire to be seen and treated like a valuable human being was more important to him than having something other than dog food to eat. So I want to ask, how good is your sight for the unseen? Do you have Jesus' eyes for the overlooked? No matter how you did with this yesterday, remember that tomorrow is a new day. It's a blank page with nothing yet written on it. And when the sun rises on that new day, what story are you going to be writing with your one day closer to eternity? How are you going to gain a better vision for the invisible but valuable people God has placed in your life and community? Here's a couple steps that you can take today so that you can start gaining better sight for the unseen tomorrow. First, get alone with God right after this program ends so you don't forget or put it aside, and pray that He gives you His heart and His eyes to see the unseen in your life and community. Ask Him to show you those who are overlooked in your life and to give you a desire for them as He has for them. Second, start praying for them. Pick one overlooked person or one organization that serves overlooked people in your community and start praying just 1 minute a day. Set a timer, set a note, put it on your dashboard of your car. Pray for them once a day for a week, and then I want you to do one thing for that person. Send a note, send a card, reach out to them, offer for a caretaker to make a meal or to be with them and to help them. Thank you so much for joining us for One Day Closer, where we're learning together how to bring purpose and hope into the lives of many.